Get to know Glennae Davis. She's a registered nurse and founder of RX for Life. She and I discuss her book, Bias and Burnout 10 Power Moves for Healthcare Workplace Equity. I am so excited to feature Glennae Davis on the Chandria Show. Welcome to the show, my dear.
Thank you so much. How are you? Thank
I'm
you for having me.
wonderful, of course. You're a registered nurse, right?
Yes.
How long have you had an affinity for helping other people be well and become the best versions of themselves?
Wow. That's a loaded question. Like, people say who are entrepreneurs, they'll say something like, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I was selling lemonade. Well, I naturally have been taking care of people my entire life. And helping people to become the best versions of themselves is just something that is just innate within me. And I get an opportunity with my nursing license to do just that.
Oh, amazing. So you're in LA. Where are you originally? You said you were born and raised in Los Angeles?
I was born and raised in Los Angeles. Just during a short time in my life, I went to Fort Worth, Texas when I was like 19 through the age of 27. And then I came back home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to get out a little bit and you came back home to Cali. I love it.
I ran back home.
I hear that. Now, as the founder of RX for Life, you help your clients understand and overcome the discriminatory challenges faced in the workplace, often related to stress. Tell me about it. When and why did you launch RX for Life?
Well, ain't no place like the workplace that'll drive a sister crazy, right? No place. But I launched RX for Life, Your Prescription for Life, just this year, spring 2020, before COVID was a thing, just kind of right in that thing. And then before our civil unrest and the Black Lives Matter movements. And I just thought, wow, how all of this just came to this timely moment of what I experienced just years ago between the years of 2012 and 2016. So just during all of that time, I was just creating this platform as a direct result of institutional racism that I was facing within a major US hospital. So I decided to, bring this to the forefront because I know firsthand how bad institutional racism will affect our mental health, our physical health, and our financial health.
So you set out so in what capacity do you help? Is it more of clinical therapy? Is it?
Oh, it's education. So what a lot of people don't know, and because this is such a new branding, a lot of people do not know that we have, as US citizens, as employees, we have a right to what is called the least invasive treatment first, which means that you don't have to take a prescription. You can take some time, you can get some education so that you can find out what's your best direction, how to strategize and go through what it is that you are going through on a personal level in the workplace and come out whole, healthy, right? And advantaged. But because of the way the system is set up, institutional racism, when I experienced these years of systemic employment discrimination, those rights were taken away from me. And just because somebody want to take away your rights don't mean you have to give them away. It just means that you're going to be in a little battle.
Absolutely. Tell me about your inspiration for your second book. It's Bias and Burnout, 10 Power Moves for Healthcare Workplace Equity 2.
Okay. Oh, it's just not equity 2. It's just bias and burnout.
Typo on my end. I'll ask again.
That's okay.
Tell me about your inspiration for your second book, Bias and Burnout, 10 Power Moves for Healthcare Workplace Equity.
Oh, yeah. So my inspiration for that was when I sat down in winter of 2019 through spring to pen these words and inspiration about what we as the U.S. healthcare workforce, particularly nurses, and even more particular African-American women, because African-American women file complaints of discrimination with the federal government called the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission more than anyone else. And on record, there's approximately about 100,000 people who file complaints of discrimination with the feds. That's not including the people who may do it within their jobs or don't speak up and say anything at all, but just internalize that violence within and end up at a doctor's office or therapy, trying to figure out what else can they do, but never really having that information to be able to do something. Mm-hmm. So I created Bias and Burnout so that I can help eliminate those mental illnesses and these stress chronic diseases that come from not being able to appropriately handle conflict in the workplace.
I think it's so key. It's so important. I mean, I think that, we take so much in, especially if you have a job that is stressful. You do what you have to do for that dollar. Right. I think that a lot of us don't think about over time how it weighs down on you, how it plays a part in your mental. I've experienced burnout on jobs before, and you don't really see it coming. It's like you wake up and you're just like, I'm tired of this place.
Right. But there are very subtle clues that do happen. And so getting a little bit of knowledge and understanding how to redefine rethink what stress is and redefine our role in the workplace to see employment as empowerment so that you can transition through it. Because for many of us, our job is not the end of our life. Like, we're not supposed to grow old and die in the workplace. Some of us, yes, because some of us are not born to be entrepreneurs, but sometimes pressure happens that opens that seed within us to feed other people, right? And I think a lot of that is missed in the workplace because we work for a paycheck instead of purpose.
I agree with that. So you said something about there being subtle clues. What are some subtle clues where burnout is on the way? You may not think that you're experiencing burnout, that you're as severely stressed on your job as you may are. What are some of those clues?
So you can find yourself, talking about events at work, but never really coming up to a solution. And then these things just start having repetitions in your mind. And, maybe your stomach is hurting, or you're going to the doctor and you're having some hair loss, or, maybe acne is happening. You're not eating, or you're having constipation. So with all stress, even discrimination on the job, because discrimination is chronic stress, which the whole world is seeing how it affects African Americans at a higher rate. And then you can understand why we have such huge health disparities. Disease does not just occur, neither does health. So there are things that you have to do and pay attention to. Aches and pains, people saying things to you. Are you willing to confront at work? Or are you like, no, I'm not going to say anything because I don't like conflict? So even saying things like, I don't like conflict, and talking to your doctor are subtle clues that something is about to go down. I think once we realize that conflict is not a negative word, conflict is actually a positive word to have healthy conversations, because we know that opposition brings opportunity, and opportunity is great for everyone.
We need more people that are willing to stand up not only for themselves, but I love that you're standing up for other people, and you're igniting that passion and opportunity for people to be better, to feel better mentally and physically. So I kudos to you for
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Solutions. I feel like it's very solution based, and I think that's amazing.
This is not another reiteration of anti-racist or pointing fingers. This is about accountability. You mentioned the word passion, and so I'm surely on fire because I feel it. I don't want anybody to burn out. So if they need some of my fire, to ignite them,
I got it. I got plenty of it. I read a quote of yours on your website at nayvision.com that reads, I've known racism my whole life, never saw myself as a statistic until I suffered 4 years of systemic employment discrimination. Please expound on this quote and tell me about some of your toughest experiences.
Yeah, so first I want to say that, all the racism that I've experienced has been tough, even if I didn't recognize that it was institutional racism, like growing up in Los Angeles and living under Reaganomics and the crack epidemic and the way that it destroyed the African American communities. And, so those are some institutional racism. But the toughest realizations that I had to come to terms with was, like I said earlier, redefining what it means to work. and turning paycheck into purpose, and then allowing myself to be compensated, even in the workplace, for my purpose. Um, and then having those hard conversations at work, knowing that I would face retaliation, because people on your jobs, the administration, they just want you to follow the status quo. They got a defined set of rules and expectations for you to meet. And if you fall outside of that, they really don't want to deal with you. But how many of us are falling outside of their perfectly little outlines? Like, it doesn't work for everyone. And so we all have a responsibility. And then I think, because I had worked so hard to get to where I was, to get to this proverbial equal playing field, college educated, making more than 6 figures in my social circle, and I still had to deal with my Black skin in the workplace being a reason for the retaliation that I was facing and the loss that I was suffering. And just, I'm a Christian, and just learning how to allow the living God to use me and trust him in his word to fight my battles at bias and policy to prevent my burnout. And so all of that to me has to do with either discrimination or discernment, and us understanding what our roles are and not succumbing to racism in America.
I commend you on, not only going through that experience, because it could have really shaped who you are in a negative way. And
Yes.
Instead, you allowed it to empower you and also to empower others. So
yeah, thank you
on what you've done and how you've taken that experience and made good with it.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. The world is still reeling from this terrible COVID-19 virus. Millions of people across the country are employed and unemployed, while many people still have to leave home for work, face the dangers of the virus every single day. How do you encourage workers who find it difficult to work under stressful times of uncertainty right now?
Yeah, that is such a loaded question. And so, I think the best thing I can do is just give a quick story. Like, one day my father caught my younger brother riding a dirt bike without his helmet on. Dad stopped him and told my brother to park the bike, walk home, get your helmet. Once my brother got back to the bike and to our dad, my dad said to my brother, the day you're no longer afraid to ride is the day you should no longer ride. Never get too comfortable. And so how I interpreted that wisdom to my everyday work life, even when I was going through the trenches of systemic employment discrimination, is self-protection always comes first. I need to protect my mind going through these things that I'm going through, and understand what my purpose is in it. To get the right information, if I need to read some stuff, if I need to hire an attorney, if I just need to sit for consultation for something, I have to look outside of myself and put something on me that will shield me. Apply it to your situation. And then sometimes we will be inconvenienced. My brother didn't want to leave his bike and walk home. He thought he could just get on that bike and go home. But having had that knowledge and still doing something dumb can hurt you. He probably wouldn't even made it home. You know what I'm saying? So be inconvenienced for a little while, knowing that when you return, that what is yours will be there waiting for you. Don't risk your life for arbitrary rules or, some profit before people decision making that can harm other people. And doing routine things that are not causing spikes of stress, because stress is normal. Stress is good. Stress is our decision-making process. It gives us the ability to fight or flight. We need that. And if you're not having those spikes, then you're not really engaging in life. Instead, you're being accustomed to things that are threats to you. You should always feel alive. So some effective tips are to only manage stress that do not violate your morality, that do not violate your employment rights and your healthcare rights or your human rights and those of anyone else's. Other than that, do what your manager say. But if it start crossing, from I'm doing what my manager says to what my manager is telling me is going to harm me and other people, then you have to decide on what you're going to do with that. I suggest you get some information and, you know, accurately help somebody, get somebody to help you accurately judge potential outcomes of action versus inaction, because some people have been through these things and survived them, and I'm one of them.
I like the reminder that the choice is always the employees. You know,
Yes.
you're not stuck anywhere. You
Right.
have the choice. I like that the way you worded that, but you know,
Mhm.
one big takeaway that I got from that is you get to decide if it's too
Yeah,
much to you, for you. You get to decide if
exactly.
you don't agree with what your manager, your boss, or their employer is saying. So I like that piece a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm
I think it's
excited about everything that you have going on. I'm excited about how you're helping, you know, shape the world in a beautiful way. And I'm also very excited that you took your time to be transparent today. If anyone is interested in your book, working with you, or following your journey, look at this beautiful cover.
Bias and Burnout is here. It is so
Oh,
beautiful. It's bite size. My son held it. He was like, "Mom, it's just, you know, hand size, and it's just so beautifully
beautiful.
done." And this book will change your health outcomes, give you every reason that you need to stand up for yourself and not acquiesce from what the policy says, because that's where we find ourselves vulnerable and out of luck and burnt out. Because, you know, yeah, these
Look at how you're
corporations.
glowing. Look at you. It's so beautiful to see. Like your labor of love in your hand. That's so amazing. How do we get the book? How do we connect with
So,
you?
so I right now my goal is to save 1,000 women from burnout in the workplace, and I would love to go through this book with you in webinars. My first webinar is actually today. So obviously you can't get in then, but for $15.95 is the cost of this book. You purchase it directly from me at my website, and you get the webinar for free, the seat for free. And so I'm just going to do this webinar live until, you know, I reach certain goals. And like I said, my goal is to help 1,000 women right now and prevent burnout and understand bias. And so that's what I want. I want to help.
Well, you are preventing burnout, you are saving lives, and you're also then improving the quality of lives for people all over the world. So thank you so much for your contribution in this world. You take care.